Okay, so this is an intro for my series explaining command blocks, or how to use them. The most important command for this entire thing is going to be the execute command, /execute. Yeah, you've probably seen this on so many titles, and they're probably good tutorials. But have to start somewhere. So I'm going to show you how to format them. I'm going to show you basic NBT tags for armor stands and items. And I'll actually leave links in the description for NBT tags that I didn't show. Well, a list of really all of them, probably. If I don't leave a link, then I'm going to have to write them all out, so I'd rather leave a link. You know, typically whenever you're in a command block, you can do / and then command you want to type, but you don't actually need the / in a command block, so most of the time, it's just easier to skip that. This is going to be your statement. There's a line anchored as, at, facing, if, in, on, positioned, rotated, run, store, summon, and unless. Today, I'm just going to use at as a basic thing. This puts the command, any command you type in, at your position. So you can do all players, all entities, nearest entity, nearest player. You can do random player, which I'm the only one on this world, so it's going to be me, or the current one. And since it's set at your location with the at statement, well, it's not yet, so I guess it'd be set at the command block, but you can also type out your own name for a single player world if you're doing something. But typically it's nearest player, since that allows a lot of commands to work. It's one entity, and you would actually have to write in to limit this to one entity. You have to, with all entities, you have to put the limit as 1, and this will allow it to run commands of any entity in the game and still have it run commands that are limit based. But most of the time, it's just easier to use the nearest player. But the nearest entity is a new thing, I guess. I've never seen that before. I didn't know it existed. Didn't realize. But then you can write another statement, which allows you to usually do if statements, but that's going to be on a different video, so I'll show that another time. You can run any commands besides certain things like the tick command. You can't run that because it's level 3 required, and command blocks don't have that. And the moment you freeze the game anyway, the command block would stop running, so I guess you could run certain things, and anytime you type a command out, you actually want to hit the done, because if you don't, as you see, it cleared the entire thing, and sometimes that can be very annoying. You'll get used to typing it out over and over, unless you just want to Control A, Control C, and then you can copy the whole command, and then you can paste it into another one if you need to repeat. Yeah, so you can run basic commands like the title command and whatnot. But yeah, so there are buttons in here. This turns it into a chain command block. It looks like this. This itself will not run on its own. You actually need a command block in front of it to be running for that to take effect. And actually, see the texture on this command block? It's pointed in this direction. That's the way the chain commands will face. It'll go down the line in the direction it's pointing. But then there's repeat command. This one, when powered, will repeat a command every tick. And then there's the always active and the needs redstone. I'll go into conditional in another video, but The always active allows it to no longer need a redstone input whenever you are using it, which is helpful for things that can just be passively doing something. Then, okay, so basic commands that usually get used. Whenever you're writing a statement, right, you want at the nearest player, you want to run something like a title command. You can write it to all players, you can write it to the nearest player, or whatever's set at the at position, but I think there's a radius if you set all that up. So if you're running it at a certain player, it'll only appear when that player is nearby. But yeah, you can figure out how the title command works, action bar, subtitle, and title, right? The subtitle is going to be on the screen below where the title would be. In the action bar, that's just slightly above your hotbar, where it just said Oak Sign, where the name pops up. Yeah, it's just slightly above that. So if we type this out, let's go title. Right? It's an impulse command, so it can only be triggered once. It won't repeat. You can go over here, grab some redstone. It's on needs powered, right? Needs redstone. And it'll go to the nearest player and pop up a title. And this will disappear after a short time. So, that's cool, I guess. A lot of required if statements require being in a repeating command block. So that's easy enough to just go over here and hit always active, unless it needs to, be powered by something else. So you can actually go over here in a cool little feature. You can execute at a player, the nearest player. This requires an if statement, which I'll get more into this another time, but actually, you don't. You can go over here and hit distance. It goes to all entities at a distance of 2 or less than 2. See, the 2 dots are less than. If you put it in front like this, it'll go on forever past 2, but, don't want that. You want it in the radius of 2. So then you're going to limit this to 1. You don't need to limit it to 1. You want to set the limit to how many ever players are going to be active. If, say, you're making a map or something, right? So then you can run title, nearest player, title. Now, okay. This is where you would set a limit. Limit equals 3, right? I guess no. Okay, well, learn something new every day. There's a way to stop it, but oh yeah, you can't title a random item or anything. So yeah, limit equals 3, right? Did the wrong thing. A is all players, E is all entities, but yeah, you can limit it to 3 players. You can go over here and, right? The moment you step out of the radius, it stops. It does that. Now, we can test this right now, right? Distance 2. Nothing happens because you have to be at exactly the radius for it to work. And whenever you're just walking over it, it doesn't do anything because there's not enough ability for it to do that. You would have to be standing directly on the point at which it turns the radius to 2. And I don't know why, it just doesn't work. But yeah, the moment you step into the radius, it works. Now, another cool command is going into your chat, right? Doing slash game rule command block output. This will stop your commands from showing in chat, which can be very spammy, right? And that's not good because it's annoying. You want to click false. This will set it to no longer show any of this. Another common command used is going to be like teleportation and summoning. You can actually summon on top of other things. So, and you don't need an at position or the run for summoning. You can just do summon, right? And then summon again. Which, that's kind of weird, but that's all right. And NBT tags and all that. See, I've never actually used that because I never have a reason to do the summon before everything. But okay, so NBT tags for items is a lot different than NBT tags for armor stands. I say that like it's a big difference. It's not, but you can go into your chat. You can type in summon armor stand, right? You want to do it at your position or a set position, doesn't really matter. You can go over here, right? The basic ones are going to be invisible, right? Some commands require a 1B, some require true. This is one of those ones where, for some reason, it just works with 1B. I don't know why. I think it's like a true or false thing, but with binary or something. I never question it. There's invulnerability. I don't know. I can't spell that well, but you get the idea. That one's a true. Hopefully, I didn't spell it wrong, because if I did, it's not going to work. Yes, everything is case sensitive. They don't take spelling errors well. Those are two common ones. You can also set the name by doing custom name, right? And then you can write that, let's name him Bob. Right, these are some common ones. Oh, he's invisible. And, oh, so you actually have to, there's another command. If you turn him invisible, you obviously have to make the name visible because the invisible NBT tag makes the name invisible too. So you have to do custom name visible or visibility, or I'll figure it out in a second. You want to do true. And then it makes his name visible. This is good for setting up like floating tags on the ground and whatnot. You will also, there's another command that if you have him floating in the air, it's the no gravity NBT tag. And that's written like this: no gravity. And that's either a 1B or a true. We'll summon him 2 up just to make sure. Yeah, so no gravity, it's a 1B command instead of a true. And this will make sure he has no gravity. Set it up higher. And now you have 2 floating name tags. Items are a little more annoying, but if you ever need to get rid of anything specific, you can actually just type it out Now, I know that's kind of weird. Why did I just do that? You need to have a type in there. You can also have other things like name, right? And then you type his name. Killed all three of them. Even though that name tag's not, you know, visible, it's just its NBT. It'll be its name. Like we have a visible name tag. If you switch into third person, you'll see your name tag. Yeah, that's just your NBT showing. Um, so items, they're weird sometimes. So if you /give yourself, oh, okay, that's weird. This is this player. If you want to give it to another player, you can. I'm just giving it to myself because there's no other players. I would say a weapon or a tool is probably best for explaining this, but you can literally use any item that's here. You can use brown concrete, right? You give the count, you give 1. The NBT tags are written right there. Instead, now it'll show you all of them, even if it doesn't make sense for this block. Now, isn't this cool? See? Now, I haven't tried this before, but look at that. Isn't that cool? This custom brown concrete now stacks to 99. Okay, now let's see. Now I'm curious. Does this actually, right? Nope, it was this one. Huh, interesting. But yeah, so this limit's probably, what, 100? Has a 3-digit limit. Okay. Yeah, so 99. There you go. That's your stack size, which is pretty cool. There are damage is a common one. Another one is going to be your enchantments. You can make a lot of custom items using these. And, I don't have to make a list since they're all here. You can read through these. You can see which ones you would need. So that's basically it for that. Those used to be a lot more complicated. I thought that would take longer. So, armor stands themselves are probably the most important thing that you can summon. Very important. Because they're used for pretty much everything you do that requires a 3D space. And a very common thing I come across as my problems is using 2 different armor stand placements to do one thing. And I'll get into how to use that in another video, but it was very useful when I figured it out. So I think that's probably about it for this one. But can't end on a low note. Ah, there it is. Wait. Watch this. This is a command you can learn, and it's commonly used in command blocks. So this thing, right, this is a little squiggle. It's called a little squiggle. I don't know what it's actually called, but right, you can position this. This is your base position. I forgot to explain this, right? So this is your base position. Where you are right now, that goes off based on the directions north, south, east, and west, right? But there's another one, right? And it's this. This goes based off of where you're looking, where your cursor is. So if you go the X, Y, and Z, this is going to be 3 blocks in front of you, wherever you're looking. And that's convenient for doing, I don't know, things with particles and whatnot. Having something in front of somebody like a user interface, you can click something, set a scoreboard up, and it'll pop it up or whatever. Yeah, you can do that. It does not interact with blocks if you do that, and it's an entity though. So beware that there are limits to all of the commands you think you can do. There are limits to every single one of them, but there's always a command that you can use instead that'll completely break it. So that's helpful. I almost forgot to explain that. Good thing I blow things up. Oh, okay. Anyway, right. So that's a lot of TNT, right? Flash fill. There is a cap limit because there is a bit limit, right? You know how right. So there's only a certain amount you can fill. I believe there's a way to change that, but I think it's on servers because I don't think I have access to that. There's different levels of commands people can do, and servers have access to one more level, in which you have to be the owner to use. But yeah, since you guys can hear it too, just for the last split second,